Pricing decisions. Today we're going to look at how cheap should you get. So there are four key factors that influence a firm's pricing decisions. Cost and product life cycle, so cost, how much does it cost to make? This looks at raw materials, salaries and stuff like that, are internal factors. The nature of the product, is it a card, is it a cup of tea, and the degree of competition, do you have loads of competitors trying to win the customer, are external factors. So cost. Firms try to make profit. Businesses try to make profit. So if your price is below your cost, you're in trouble. So that's why cost affects price. In terms of product life cycle, Apple, before it launches a new iPhone, usually drops the price of its existing models, tries to sell more, and then launches something like the iPhone X for £1,000. Then they basically deprecate the headphones, so your old headphones didn't work, and then get you to buy some nice little AirPods for 160 quid instead of buying headphones from other people. Product life cycle affects price, and that is the old Apple strategy. The nature of a product affects pricing in two key ways. If it's a luxury good, you want to charge more and people buy it if it costs more because it shows that they're rich. That's cool. And whether it's hard to differentiate is another factor. So crude oil, you're basically producing exactly the same as everyone else. So you can't really charge a different price to anyone else. And the degree of competition. If there's loads of people who are offering a similar product in a similar place, you're probably going to have a lower price than if you're the only person offering it in a similar place. So have a think about this. Costs influence firms' pricing decisions because firms try to make a profit. If a business's price and cost determines how much profit they make, a business can't afford to set a price lower than their costs forever. So basically, in the long term, price needs to be more than cost. What are the four factors that influence a firm's pricing? Number one, cost. Number two, product life cycle. Number three, the nature of a product. And number four, the degree of competition. So setting price skimming. Price skimming is a method where a business sets a high initial price and then lowers it over time. So this often happens as more competitors enter a market, and this puts downward pressure on the price. It's kind of the opposite of what Apple do. They have gradually increased price over time, despite having more competition. Price skimming can help companies recover the cost of R&D. So if it costs a lot to develop a new product, the iPhone cost $1 billion to make, to research and develop, then having high prices early on helps them to recover the money they spent on R&D. However, you may sell less items because if your price is really high, fewer people are able to afford your product. A disadvantage of price skimming is that it can slow down the adoption of a product. This can give competitors more time to launch a competing service. Price skimming can be good for many reasons, but it allows a business to cover high research and development costs. So fundamentally, pharmaceuticals, drugs that cure cancer, very expensive technologies like Magic Leap, which is trying to do some stuff in augmented reality, covering their R&D costs may require a high price for early consumers. The four key factors that influence a firm's pricing decisions, let's do it from memory. Internal factors are cost and product life cycle. External factors are the nature of a product and the degree of competition. Beautiful. Price penetration. This is where the business tries to increase market share by having a really low initial price. It's like a loss leader in a supermarket where they give you digestives for £1 and you go in there and buy Fanta as well, and they make money on the Fanta and break even on the digestives. This can help someone to increase market share. So the Apple Watch was competing with Fitbit early on. It leads to low short-term profits because you're not making much money on your initial sales, but it may help you in the long run to win market share. Dollar Shave Club, which basically sells razors to people in the post for shaving, as the name suggests, basically offered to deliver a razor with blades to your house for $1 a month. What do we call this strategy where you have a low initial price? Price penetration. Dollar Shave Club, incidentally, have some very good adverts. Check them out on YouTube. That is basically what they're famous for. In terms of pricing methods, how do you choose your price? There's two methods that are primarily used: cost plus pricing, which is basically I'm going to take my costs and charge the consumer my cost plus 20% more, or competitive pricing, where you look at what other people offer, charging for the service, and then you charge similar to that. Competitive pricing is generally when the products in the market are similar, and it's comparable for the consumer. So petrol and oil, for example, there. What is the markup in cost plus pricing? It is the addition to the cost of production that allows the business to make a profit. It's essentially, if I'm charging 20% on top of my costs, the markup is 20%. Why do companies use price skimming traditionally? Two reasons. One is to cover high fixed costs, like R&D, and another is to maximize revenues. You charge early adopters quite a lot. On the other hand, what is a disadvantage of price skimming? Four options. One is slower unit sales growth. Two is greater R&D costs. Three is shareholders don't like it. Four is maximized profit. I think slower unit sales growth is most likely there. So that is the pricing decision for firms. Here's some wild maths. If WH Smith buys a set of Sharpie pens for £5 and adds a 20% markup, what will they sell them for? 5 times 1.2 is 6. A-level maths for you. Characteristics of loss leaders. Loss leaders are used to attract customers in the hope they make extra purchases. The business usually makes a loss on them, and average revenue is normally less than average cost. That's what I call a loss leader. And that's got to be stored in San Fran. And that is everything you need to know about pricing decisions.